Right, moving on with functional groups here, and we looking at the ether. And what is the functional group for the ether? For an ether, you've got a carbon atom found along the chain of carbon atoms, like that. Okay, so it's in between, if you like, it has taken a space of a carbon atom. In that way, you've got, this will be a functional group of an ether. Now, the first simplest ether you can have, of course, you can have an ether that with only one carbon atom, because you need to have an oxygen atom in between carbon atoms. So this one could be what we call this part here. If I put in the hydrogens, you would see it's that of methane, so it will be a methyl group. So this will be methyl. If you check this part here as well, you've got again another methyl if you put those hydrogens there. So this is a methyl. Now how will you name this ether? This will be let me write somewhere because that my pen is messing me up here. Dimethyl ether. Okay, di means you've got two of these things. You've got one, the first one there, and the second one there. So dimethyl ether, the carbon atom, the oxygen atom in between it. So it's dimethyl ether. Okay, and basically we'll talk more about these things, but this is basically what an ether will be like. This is the first simplest ether we'll talk about, dimethyl ether. All right. Next, let's have a look at something called aldehyde. What are aldehydes? Aldehydes contains what we call a carbonyl group. Okay? And this carbonyl group for aldehydes is at the end of the carbon chain. Okay? For example, if you have, so as a functional group, you would have something like this. You would have that with an H there. A carbonyl group means carbon atom having a double bond to oxygen atom like that. Third bond, fourth bond, and that has to be a hydrogen. If you find something like that, that functional group tells you we're talking about an aldehyde. Now, if I were to give an example here, for example, if you could have this one here, the very one that you're having there as this. So this bond here is to hydrogen, and you have that hydrogen here. This will be called methanol. So the end part of naming these molecules called aldehydes will always say al, nal at the end. So you've got methanol, ethanol, propanol, butanol, things like that. These are aldehydes. Coming to ketones, what are ketones? Ketones would also have a carbonyl group. Now, how different are ketones from aldehydes? The ketones will always have the carbonyl group somewhere in between carbon atoms. So there is your carbonyl group. It's somewhere in between carbon atoms, and that tells you, this functional group here tells you that the molecule you're looking at is a ketone. Now, how do we name ketones? And you can see immediately that we cannot have a ketone from meth or from earth, because you need to have at least 3 carbon atoms to have a ketone. So for that reason, it means you'll start from prop or propane, something with 3 carbon atoms. So if I put hydrogen atoms there, okay, what would I be having? I'll be having what we call propanone. Propanone. Now, it's not propan 1, it's propanone. That non, that's the way you're going to pronounce it. It's not 1 as a number at the end, it's non. Okay. And next, we've got what we call carboxylic acids. Carboxylic acids also have a carbonyl group, but this is how the functional group looks like. This carbonyl group is attached to an OH group, and that So that tells you you're talking about a carboxylic acid, or organic acid if you like. Now you can attach here a lot of other things. There could be carbon chains going this way, so you can have CCC this way, or you can immediately have a hydrogen there. Now when you have a hydrogen there with one carbon, this acid here will be called methanoic acid. Methanoic acid, one carbon atom. Okay, so if I had this one with two, guess what it's going to be like? Two carbon atoms. This is going to be ethanoic acid. So the end part, when you're talking about acids, you will see that you have got the oic part. If you're talking acids, we need to hear you saying oic at the end. Methanoic acid, ethanoic acid, propanoic acid, butanoic acid, pentanoic acid, in that way. Okay, now esters quickly. Esters, what you have, you also have a carbonyl group. Okay, but then in a carbonyl group that you have here, you have a carbonyl group that is attached to a oxygen atom like that, and then you have another substance there, or another carbon going that way. That becomes your functional group of an ester. But then we'll talk more about this. We'll see how esters come about, and I hope you're going to learn and enjoy this at our forthcoming lessons. That brings us to the end. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you learned a lot. Thank you.